Welcome everyone, my name is Gypsy. I'm the Director of the Curriculum Center for World Studies and Professor of Sociology. And I'm extremely pleased to welcome you today to this event featuring our own Eva Pasek, Malachowska-Pasek. Pani Eva, for those of you who took classes with them, she's a legend on campus. It's true.
I feel like a dinosaur.
No, I mean,
legend.
No, legend. It's important because actually, you have trained at least one generation now of scholars of Poland, people who have gone on from the University of Michigan to study Polish history or sociology, political science, so we're extremely grateful. And she's also teaching Polish to a lot of Polish Americans who feel Polish, but don't necessarily speak the language. And so it's a rare skill actually to be able to teach different kinds of people who have different kinds of objectives in learning language. And Pani Eva is, Dr. Pasek is exceptionally talented in that sphere. So we're really happy to welcome her today to hear about her research. Because not only she's a linguist and a language instructor, she's also a scholar. And so I will give you a little bit of information. So Eva Malachowska-Pasek is the Ladislav Matejka Collegiate Lecturer in Polish and Czech Studies in the Department of Slavic Languages and Literatures here at UM. As I've mentioned, she teaches Polish, but also Czech. And she also teaches on the Roma minority in Central Europe. She's a co-founder and board member of the North American Association of Teachers of Polish, and she's a co-translator of The Romance of Teresa Henet by Zofia Naukowska and The Career of Nicodemus Dyzma by Tadeusz Dołęga-Mostowicz, which she, looking for more seats, which was the winner of the 2021 Found in Translation Award. It's a very prestigious award. Prior to her work at the University of Michigan, she worked in the Polish Language Institute at PAN, the Polish Academy of Sciences in Warsaw. And her own research focuses on language acquisition, critical language studies, and Romani studies. And today she'll be presenting on her doctoral work, which we hope will become a book. The title of her lecture is What's in the Name? A Lot, from Gypsy to the Roma in Polish Discourse on Minorities. And before I give the floor to Eva, I'd like to also advertise 3 events after this one on Polish studies. So we're co-sponsoring a film at the 62nd Edinburgh Film Festival, MUM. It's directed by Józef Warak. It's on March 27th at 5:30 at the State Theater. Łukasz Stanek, who's a professor of architecture at the Taubman School of Architecture, is also organizing a day-long symposium on Polish-Nigerian collaboration, so that will be very interesting. And we will also have our inaugural Wydziński Fellows, so 2 professors both from Warsaw, a sociologist and an anthropologist, who will be presenting their research that will be on April 24th at noon. So we kindly invite you to join us then. And for now, we're ready to hear you, Eva.
So, thank you so much. introduction. Hello, everyone. Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome and this opportunity to the chance to talk about my research today. And I really appreciate all of you being here. And indeed, language is the heart of everything I do professionally. So let's dive in and you can't hear.
Just your character.
More volume. Perhaps I will use the microphone.
So, is it better?
Yes.
Yes.
Better, then that's fantastic then. So, at the beginning, I would like to place my talk in context and say a few words about the amazing achievements Romani intellectuals have made since the first International Romani Congress in 1971. It was back then in Orpington, near London, England, when a group of Roma consolidated their long-standing efforts to combat anti-Gypsyism in Europe. And the Congress marked a significant milestone for the Romani people worldwide. Among its achievements, the Congress proclaimed the Romani flag and anthem, symbolizing a collective assertion of identity and culture. It provided a pivotal platform for advocating Romani rights, fostering solidarity, and establishing a foundation for future activism. And the majority of attendees also embraced the usage of the term, the ethnonym Roma, instead of variants of Gypsy. In Polish, it's Cygan. So almost 30 years later, during the 5th Congress of the Romani International Union, its attendees issued the official declaration of the Romani non-territorial nation, and the declaration emphasized the existence of a community formed by its members despite territorial dispersion, a sense of distinct cultural and linguistic identity, and awareness of shared roots. And common ancestry was one of the most significant factors in shaping Romani identity in terms of political subjectivity. Not all Roma speak Romani, not all dialects are mutually intelligible, and it's difficult to speak of a singular monolithic Romani culture. Ancestry, however, is an immutable factor to which the entire community can refer, even if only symbolically. An example being the Romani flag, which draws from the contemporary Indian flag. Ancestry is primarily a distinguishing factor between Roma and other groups collectively referred to as gypsies. For example, the Irish travelers who are indigenous for Great Britain, or the Yenish people who are indigenous for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Both those groups and many other groups, so-called gypsy groups, they do not have Indian ancestry. So the ancestry is a key aspect in the discussion regarding the use of ethnonyms, gypsies and Roma, and serves as an argument for a change in naming. And this change, which are called a lexical renomination, the shift, it's a shift from the exonym Gypsy to the endonym Rom, and this lexical renomination and the response to this change in Poland constitute the focal point of my presentation today, and I will talk about Polish attitudes towards this idea and also the idea of multiculturalism. And my talk draws primarily from the collection of over 1,000 texts of various genres, articles, announcements, TV programs, memes, social media posts collected over the course of a full year from August 1st, 2019 to July 31st, 2020, and from nearly 500 online sources identified through the Google Alert search engine. So, the Roma community in Poland consists of approximately over 30,000 people. And since 2005, they have been officially recognized as an ethnic minority, and there are 3 other ethnic minorities in Poland: Lemkos, Tatars, and Karaites. The prevalence of negative attitudes towards the Roma is surprisingly high, given their small population size. So, and so despite their small population, the Roma it's very negative, as you can see. Just the attitudes, those are just results from the annual CBO's polls on minorities and nationalities in Poland, and so I collected this data from 1994 till 2023. It's available, widely available, but as you can see, there are some interesting just things here. Just in 1995, we still have the ethnonym Gypsy listed in the polls. Then, since 1998, actually, we have Gypsies and, in the parentheses, Roma. So, just to mark this shift from Gypsies to Roma. Then, interesting, at the beginning of the 20th century, it's the opposite. So, just we have Roma, and in order to know people actually who are the Roma, we have Gypsies, and it stayed till 2023. And as you can see, I'm showing only just the bottom of the polls, so which means that just out of 20 in 1995, just the Roma scored the lowest. So in 1995, the lowest. In 2003, we have Roma and Romanians, and actually Romanians, for some people, they were not aware that these people were people referred to Roma and used the word Romanians because of the refugees from Romania and Bulgaria who came from Poland, and back then people actually this word Roma was not established. This ethnonym Roma was not established. So just they were referred, the Romanians, people talked about them in media and everywhere that those are Romanians. So we have actually this number 26 and 27. We can easily say, I'm sure that it's just, those attitudes are just related to Roma. So, and then we can jump to 2023, and I think it's not related to our topic today, but you can clearly see the negative attitudes towards Belarusians, Roma, Arabs, and Russians. So it's justified by the political situation in the world. So. Despite their small reputation, despite the small population, the Roma occupy a significant place in national imagination, memory, and mythology. And Romani music, Romani culture, and traditions, and their distinctiveness are incredibly appealing to Poles. And this map documents the vibrant presence of Romani music and dance events throughout Poland. It displays performances that occurred over a span of less than 8 months. From mid-March 2020, due to the coronavirus epidemic, only 8 performances took place, and they were concert broadcast in drive-in cinemas. And here we have another map that shows the events promoting Romani culture as like crown example of regional diversity. So here there are exhibitions, conferences on Romani topics, screenings of feature and documentary films, cultural festivals, outdoor gatherings, Romani music festivals, culinary meetings, and so on, plus integration meetings. So events dedicated to Romani culture or incorporating Romani culture as part of ethnic diversity took place in all voivodeships. And similarly to the entertainment events, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, at the end of March 20, there has been a ban of large gatherings. So the presented data predominantly covers the period from August 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, which precedes the significant impact of COVID-19 restrictions. So therefore does not fully reflect the frequency of events in regular years. Now, also it's really important to note that there is weak correlation between the events featuring Romani culture or Romani music and the population size of Romani people residing in a given region. So according to official data from the National Census of Population and Housing, conducted in 2011 and 2021, Romani people primarily inhabited the Lower Silesian Voivodeship, Lesser Poland Voivodeship, and Silesian Voivodeship. So even if there are almost no Roma living in the particular region, the events are still very popular and gather many participants. So a significant portion of these events had a decidedly mercantile character. So after Poland's accession to the European Union, it turned out that promoting diversity and multiculturalism is highly desirable. And here arose a problem because Poland at the beginning of the 21st century was still a mono-ethnic country, and groups other than the majority constituted only 4% of the entire society. So Roma, Lemkos, Kashubians were needed to create the image of an open society. And the issue that interested me the most was the impact of events promoting multiculturalism on the level of understanding and acceptance of diversity. And the materials and methods I used in my work do not allow for a full analysis of the direct impact, but they reflect perception of multiculturalism among Poles and demonstrate how and if declared or declarative attitudes align with their implementation in practice. So under the newspaper articles and local TV news promoting events affirming multiculturalism, there aren't many comments about the events themselves, although the accompanying visual material indicates a large attendance of participants and the immense popularity of festivals and events. They are undoubtedly an attraction. So the concept of multiculturalism and intercultural differences were the subject of discussions under thematic articles about Roma, often directly unrelated to multiculturalism. So we have like a wide spectrum of attitudes towards multiculturalism and just a wide spectrum of attitudes towards multiculturalism surface in the discussions, and multiculturalism is perceived both positively and negatively, but positive attitudes towards multiculturalism are seldom seen in social media discussions. So here we have an example of just positive statements, and the last one, Roma always had large families, whether there was 500 plus or not. The last one refers to the family 500 plus program, and those are like childcare benefits in Poland, and families received 500 Polish zlotys per each child, for each child under 18, and now it's actually program family 800 plus, so it's even more. And people just in social media, people complain that since Romani families are really big, and the Roma have many children, so just that they overuse the program. So in response to such comments, we have here just a comment: no one forbids anyone to have many children. So those are the positive attitudes, and then we will slowly, gradually go into more negative attitudes. So here we have just attitude number 2, let's say, so that promoting multiculturalism is as unnecessary, superficial, inapt, merely for show. And I think that I will, since I can see like a big community of Polish speakers, so you can read the comments, and I will read the comments from social media just in Polish. So it's since my translation not always reflect what's exactly in the social media. So from the top to the bottom we have: Cygany górą. Wydaje mi się, że pilniejszym jest wywóz śmieci od Cyganów i uporządkowanie terenu, bo smród i syf dookoła. A tu masz, promocja Cyganów na festiwalu. Wybudować 2 bloki, jeden dla Cyganów, a drugi obok dla wójta, by razem mogli budować wspólnotę opartą na wzajemnym szacunku i bogactwie kultur. Idioci! Odciąć wodę od romskiego osiedla i tyle. Takie to są zalety wielokulturowości. Widać te ich indyjskie korzenie. Spotkania integracyjno-edukacyjne? Za parę dni się okaże, kto stracił, a kto zyska. Oleśniczanie otrzymali próbkę, maleńką próbkę tego multikulti, no ale poprawne politycznie lewactwo w dalszym ciągu będzie zachwycało się ubogaceniem polskiej kultury. So that's just one thing. Another attitude number 3. The denial of the value of multiculturalism within the society. So, pani zechciało się potańczyć, pomachać kiecą, czyli zakłócić jakąś zorganizowaną imprezę, a nie pomyślała o wcześniejszym zgłoszeniu się. Postępuje po romsku, czyli nie uznaje naszych zasad i dziwi się, że jest tak traktowana. Tak, mniejszości panoszą się wśród większości. Racjonalnie myśląc, powinni się dostosować do naszej kultury. Co do Romów, są w mniejszości, więc powinni się dostosować do naszych warunków kulturowych. Poza tym, czy Cyganie chcą się integrować, chcą pracować, chcą dostosować się do naszych zwyczajów. So that's another example. This is what I call just the we perspective. So if the community, if the Roma want to be with us, just they should behave exactly the same way as we do. So here we have example number 4. Multiculturalism as a threat to the position, security, or even existence of the majority society, and just even the existence. Actually, it's just there are only a couple of examples in the media. Here we have. Jeśli się zastanawiasz, to znacznie korzystniej powiedzieć, że napadł cię Jan Kowalski, niż mówić, że napadł cię Cygan, Żyd, Polak, Niemiec, muzułmanin, katolik, naziol, gej. W pierwszym wypadku są spore szanse, że gość odpowie za swoje czyny, a w drugim przypadku gwarantuje, że sprawa się rozwodni. Bo oni, Romowie, pokazują nam, Polakom, środkowy palec. Wystarczy popatrzeć na ich groby, zachowanie i ubiory we wszystkich świętych. My, Polacy, wyglądamy tam przy nich jak ubodzy krewni. Tak nie powinno być. Kiedyś czytałem, że 30% nowych urodzeń na Węgrzech to dzieci cygańskie. Nie za ciekawie się przyszłość rysuje. Trzaskowskie PO w 2015 roku prawie zalało kraj uchodźcami. Zapomniałeś? Chcesz gwałtów, napadów, pobić? Wystarczy, że wybierzesz PO trzaskowskie, oni ich zaimportują. So just the last quote, I think, vividly recalls recent debates in the States. So attitude number 5, lack of acceptance of Romani culture and way of living. Biada tej knajpie, w której się zagnieżdżą. Osobno siadają mężczyźni, osobno kobiety, dzieciaki generalnie robią co chcą, ganiają, wpychają się w kolejkę, jeśli jest samoobsługa, mordy drą do siebie tak, jakby wszyscy cierpieli na dwuchotę, prawie nic nie zamawiają, po prostu przesiadują. Niech się ubiorą jak normalni ludzie i do roboty. Członek Komisji Rządu do Spraw Romskich, Trojanek, twierdzi, że kultura romska od 500 lat nie pozwala Romowi być lekarzem, hydraulikiem, wywozić śmieci itd. Wygląda na to, że romskie śmieci, czkupy, ma wywozić potulnie Polak i sprzątać po nich. Jak rząd może na takie pasożytnictwo pozwolić? Cyganie mają taką tradycję. Może był w tym jakiś sens w średniowieczu, gdy wywędrowali z Indii, ale dzisiaj nie ma to żadnego. So, and the last one, depriving Romani culture of cultural trace. So in the actually last example, at least people didn't like, some internet users didn't like the Romani culture, but here in the next one they think that Romani culture, we cannot call Romani culture just a culture. So światowe spotkania z kulturą romską, ładny oksymoron w tytule, słowo kultura jest na wyrost. Sorry, ale kultura, która tak traktuje kobiety, to nie jest kultura i nie jest warta zachowania. Proszę mi podać 10 osiągnięć romskiej kultury, romskiego narodu, jakiś wielki wynalazek, osiągnięcie dyplomatyczne, militarne, inżynieryjne, niech będzie nawet 5. No dobra, 3. Granie i śpiewanie niewiele wnosi do PKB, nie wspomnę o innych formach działalności. Wkład w kulturę europejską ten lud ma rzeczywiście ogromny. So this is just this attitude, just depriving Romani culture of cultural traits, is really very common in social media, and especially in memes, social media memes, and just for example, I would like to share with you one meme that was extremely popular in Poland and shared via Facebook. So in Poland there is just a very popular German retailer grocery store, Lidl. And from time to time they have just weeks focused on different world cultures. So here we have the Spanish week, the German week, the Italian week, and here we have just the social media joke and just about the Gypsy week, so fresh rubble and other semi-finished products. So this is what Romani culture can offer, and here also we have just people played with the adjective cygański, gypsy. So, and in this meme it means fake sake, yeah, just the Japanese alcoholic drink. So here, so despite the explicit lack of acceptance of Romani cultural differences, statements from social media users indicate a growing familiarity with Romani culture within society. While this marks an important step forward, this familiarity often fails to translate into understanding of minority group behaviors, actions and traditions. And knowledge about Romani All Saints Day tradition doesn't necessarily result in graded acceptance of different rituals in cemeteries, and extravagant weddings are often ridiculed by internet users, and the effort to maintain the Romani language at home is usually met with disfavor. And especially just about the language, the Romani language, it's a stunning inconsistency, because Polish parents, Polish immigrants whose children are born outside Poland and don't speak fluent Polish, the children, when they don't speak fluent Polish, so their parents are accused of neglecting traditions and lacking patriotism. So it's just, and I just have several examples from the media, but I will just read one. It makes me wonder why, being here in Poland for years, they keep mumbling in their own language all the time. Doesn't that tell us anything? So that's the approach towards the Romani language. And on a positive note, instances of particularly hostile statements and comments directed towards Roma typically elicit protests from participants in the discussion. And just in her article, Multiculturals in Polish Style, Anna Pasika questions the feasibility of promoting multiculturalism and the very concept of multiculturalism in a society where one cultural norm is considered unquestionable. So the analyzed material I collected supports Pasieka's argument. In the Polish context, multiculturalism is often seen as a way to promote Polishness and a vision of a tolerant society that has historically accepted other cultures. This acceptance, however, hasn't necessarily translated into granting minority cultures the same rights. One internet user writes, "Poles are super chill and friendly. If you are straight up and looking to hang with us, no one's gonna throw shade or trip you up." So the promotion of multiculturalism is rather declarative and descriptive, whereas in the normative axiological space, multiculturalism is still evolving. So part of the discussion around multiculturalism also involves a lively debate about lexical renomination, and embracing other cultures often entails accepting changes in language. And the findings from the collected data indicate that the process of renomination in Poland is significantly advanced, as you can see here. So the ethnonym Gypsy is rarely used in official media, mainly to indicate the historical context. For example, the Gypsy family camp in Auschwitz-Birkenau. And quantitative analysis of the use of both ethnonyms in social media still shows a prevalence of the term Gypsy, with the frequency of the term Rom being 33% lower. However, the frequency of the adjective Romani is 100% higher. The adjective Romani appears twice as often as Gypsy, Cygański in Polish. So why people actually don't want to use the ethnonym Roma? So the discussion surrounding the use of ethnonyms is usually initiated by the opponents of the change, and at the core of this opposition lies primarily a reluctance towards change in general. And resistance to change is one of the key concepts in information theory, and is not a negative phenomenon but a natural strategy for individuals to cope with change. It's both an individual and universal characteristic. The results of a study in applied psychology conducted among 4,200 individuals representing 17 nationalities and coming from different cultures, Europe, Asia, North America, and Australia, showed that resistance to change is not culturally determined. In every culture, novelty is met with suspicion and various forms of resistance. So the study was conducted by Van Dam, Orek, and Shins in 2008. And in the analyzed discussion surrounding the use of the ethnonym Roma, I could identify most of the individual resistance factors delineated in applied psychology. Reluctance to abandon old habits, routines, fear of losing control and status, cognitive rigidity, reluctance to acquire or apply new knowledge. By dissecting the various forms of resistance, we gain insight into patterns of thinking and develop strategies to address it. At least we can do that. It also helps examine how the agents of change themselves contribute to resistance through their actions and inactions. So the emotional opposition to the lexical renomination is often expressed as an undisputed opinion that requires no justification at all. And I won't read it in Polish, but just there were just like the part Romani is such a gibberish name. In Polish it's Romowie to taka bełkotliwa nazwa Cyganów, so I think that gibberish would be just the best translation. And also just the last one, we have here Cygan to nie Rom, ty pisowski pomiocie, and you piece spawn or bastardly scum. So as you can see, the topic of the topic is often just a starting point for sharing opinions on political views, city or municipal administration activities, attitudes towards the church, or just expressing or venting negative emotions. So here there is just no justification. Though the majority of internet users attempt to justify their stance in discussion, and there are four main argumentative strategies used to rationalize resistance. So here we have strategy number one. There is no need to change linguistic habits since Romani people commonly refer to themselves as gypsies. And internet users making this argument point to song titles featuring the term gypsies and sung by Roma artists. The titles are deeply ingrained in Polish culture, so Romani musical bands promote their music by appealing to the linguistic habits of potential customers. And the internet users also refer to their personal experience and personal interactions with Roma individuals who, in their relations with non-Roma, called gadzie, identify themselves as gypsies. So there is strategy number two. I believe that the term gypsies does not carry a pejorative meaning, and I will use it to preserve Polish traditions and historical continuity. So here we have again this we approach, and they can, so the Roma can use the ethnonym gypsy, but we are not allowed to, so just the conclusion is we also can use just this ethnonym. So the next strategy, and also, as you can see, age is a factor. So I'm 40, so my knowledge, I'm 40, my knowledge is just undisputable here. So strategy number three is I'm aware that the term gypsies has a negative connotation, but the negative attitude towards gypsies is justified, so I will use the term gypsies. So a moment, just you can read the statements. So in this example, the term gypsies is consciously used as a slur. So I know that it's negative, but I will use it. So just, and I think that just that's strategy number 4, and now we will have strategy number 4. It was number 3, now number 4. And now about the language. The term Romani violates the purity and rules of the Polish language, so we shouldn't use it. And now I just really couldn't reflect what I found in social media, and mostly people who actually claim that the purity of the Polish language is the most important thing for them. They made such mistakes that it was really even hard. It was painful to read. But the term Roma violates the purity. So I think that here we have, especially in the last part, or if they don't like the Polish language, they can go wherever they want. Or goodbye, nobody invited you here. If the Gypsies don't like just the term Roma. And it's just what's really important here, just to emphasize that the Roma have been living in Poland since the 15th century. 15th century. So how much time does it take to be part of the community? So nobody invited you here, so goodbye. So that's, I think it's very important. So to summarize the strategies, forms of resistance vary in intensity, ranging from passive opposition to outright denial of Romani inclusion in Polish society. Just like in organizational theory, predictors of resistance to lexical change encompass the following elements. So, people don't feel the need to change their language habits. The ethnonym Gypsies adequately denotes the Roma minority and evokes appropriate associations. The change also, number 2, brings no benefits to an ordinary average representative of the majority group. The change is a way of showing respect for others' desires for self-expression and a step towards embracing multiculturalism, which isn't always seen as a positive thing. Now, number 3. Lack of clearly defined objectives for change. The prevailing perception among the majority of society regards change as a manifestation of politically correct initiatives, and both the media and Romani intellectuals fail to provide sufficient justification for the change. Many people just see it as a whim of Romani intellectuals and liberal activists. So number 4, the lack of consistent pattern of usage of both lexemes in official media and in the statements of some representatives of the Romani minority introduces conceptual chaos, and really chaos. And just I particularly liked this part, and I quote just 2 short sentences, so just statements. Pay attention to the usage of Gypsy and Rom, lexemes. The concert program will feature the best Gypsy songs, wonderful, authentic Romani music, singing and dancing. Or, at the St. Andrew's Gypsy concert, Romani refreshments will be served. So, just when people read such statements, they are really very much confused. Why should we use the ethnonym Romani? So, number 5, the change is perceived as a disruption of historical continuity and a challenge to centuries-old tradition. Number 6, historical factor. Experiences from the times of the PRL, People's Republic of Poland, taught society to be suspicious of top-down neologisms. They are perceived as ideological manipulation, in Polish nowomowa, newspeak. So, and number 7, change as a cultural threat. So, granting minority groups the right to self-identification disrupts the existing order of things, disturbing the space of symbolic dominance. But the predominant use of the adjective Romani and the increasingly frequent use of the noun Rom, even in social media, indicate the acceptance of the change by a large part of society. And what particularly was just in number 3, political correctness. That's, for me, it was really very important in the materials I found, because just the concept and fundamental ideas of political correctness were introduced to Poland in the 1990s. And by then, PC was already highly politicized in the United States, and these concepts arrived without the cultural and historical. The concepts arrived without the cultural and historical context present in America, making the debate less nuanced. So let's look at the perception of political correctness in Polish society. While doing my research, I simultaneously collected materials about the image of Roma and statements concerning political correctness. So the collocations, phrases in which the term political correctness or politically correct is used, suggest, and now you can see just the examples. Now I will use the phrases that internet users used while writing their posts. So, political correctness and politically correct suggests annihilation. PC devours, destroys, kills. If it weren't for political correctness, the tragedy could have been avoided. Threat. PC terrifies, hampers police actions in defense of citizens, enables the activity of pedophile gangs. 3. Treachery. PC sneaks in. Attack. PC offensive, like in a battle. 5. Unrestrained spread. PC thrives, knows no boundaries. It's scary to think what it will lead to in a couple of years. Progresses, reaches even to farmers. 6. Compulsion or prohibition. PC must be. PC wouldn't allow. PC level of Polish Catholicism. And number 7, PC is a trait of irrational or grotesque behavior. It's embarrassingly funny, prevails over common sense, and swallows its own tail. And number 8, psychological imbalance. PC is a result of madness of American leftism. So, and the Roma, that's what's important, the Roma became a focal point in Poland's discourse on political correctness. They were the only ethnic group in Poland to demand the right to their own name. And due to negative associations with political correctness, the introduction of the term Roma was met with skepticism from Polish society. And this skepticism overlooks the fundamental issues and essence of the debate. Both post-colonial thought and political correctness aim to provide narrative space for minority groups, and the discussion around terms like Inuit or Eskimo, Sami or Lap, Romani or Gypsy is part of a broader dispute between minority and majority societies over the right to self-determination. And in my book and in everything I write, I strongly oppose the use of the example of lexical renomination Gypsy Roma. predominantly in the context of political correctness. Its disadvantages for the mobilization and emancipation of the Romani movement. It breeds reluctance towards the use of the ethnonym Roma. And Romani people in discussions about political correctness are not treated as subjects again, but as objects. And they are again merely a handy tool in another discourse, in another like macro structure. And it brings us to the beginning of my talk, the struggle of Roma to emerge from marginalization, to gain visibility and rights that other minorities have actually exercised much earlier. And also at the very end, I would like to share with you a juicy statement produced by Korwin Mikke, a Polish far-right politician, about the Roma and their place in contemporary Polish society, or rather I would say Polish conceptual museum. It portrays the inability, unwillingness to confront one's own role and changing position in society. And you can read it, you can read it, but I will read it in Polish. So it's w Polsce podejmuje się próby zwalczania niekorzystnych zdaniem większości intelektualistów zjawisk społecznych poprzez zmianę słownictwa. Efekt jest zdumiewający. Cyganie to barwny, wędrowny ludek, grający na skrzypcach, kradnący, handlujący końmi, bielący kotły, wróżący z kart, a Romowie to ponury lud osiadły w okolicach ośrodków rozdających zasiłki. Dzieciom romskim nie chce się już nie tylko chodzić do szkoły, nie chce im się uczyć grać na skrzypcach, klepać patelni, wróżyć, żebrać, a nawet kraść. Po co, skoro są zasiłki? Piosenki o Romach pokazują, że w stosunku do Cyganów nie było dyskryminacji. Dla artystów i oryginałów byli nawet bardzo atrakcyjnymi wzorami i partnerami. Cyganem chciałbym być, cygankę chciałbym mieć, cygan bez roli, cygan bez chaty, lecz cygan wolny, cygan bogaty. A zna ktoś piosenkę o Romach? Czy jakiś gadzi chciałby wziąć ślub z Romem lub Romką? So that's the end. Thank you very much for your attention. Any questions? Yeah, Professor Eagle.
Thank you for a wonderful talk, Emma. It was fascinating and so carefully researched. Thank you. I was wondering whether in the debate in Poland, the dimension of who is using the ethnonym comes into play, because it seems to me fairly common among minority ethnonyms. One could think about Jews or blacks in the United States, that it's one thing for a member of that ethnic group to use the particular ethnonym, quite another for a person outside to use it. And I think that's historically understandable, that if the outside culture has used that term pejoratively, it is pejorative for them. Mm-hmm. If the culture inside uses it in just normal interchange, it's not pejorative. Has that come into play in any of this discussion?
Yes, it's exactly how it actually, it's the same situation is in Poland. And so many, for example, anthropologists, when they are interviewing, and ethnologists, when they are interviewing the Romani people, they always ask, how would you like me to call you? So that's the way how people actually approach it. And also I would say that even 10 years ago, some Romani people still use the ethnonym Gypsy, because they thought that it's like an outsider name, so just when they talked to non-Romani people. And what's really interesting is that young activists, and in general young Romani people, they never use the word Gypsy, not any longer, but there are some small towns or just some enclaves in Poland when there is a strong Romani leader who is elderly. And just the entire Romani community, since the leader, the elders are enormously important in Romani culture. So since the leader uses the ethnonym Gypsy, they use the ethnonym Gypsy. But I'm looking at one area in Poland, and there is one elderly person who is just very much respected by everyone, and he uses the word Gypsy. And sorry to say that, I'm wondering what will happen in a couple of years if this wonderful person will actually will not be longer, well, no longer will be with us. And just I'm really looking at this region. So probably the Roma in this region will embrace the ethnonym Romani. Romani. It's also in Poland that's the way, but in other parts of Europe, people actually, many Romani people, all of them accept the adjective Romani, but not all of them accept the ethnonym Roma. So there are Sinti, there are Manouche, there are Calais. So, and they prefer to be called not to be called Roma, but they speak Romani, for example. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I have brief two questions. The first one, was any attempts on state level to discuss about the Roma status in Poland from the perspective of indigenous people rights? I'm asking because in Ukraine, for example, we have adopted new law from 2021 about indigenous people in Ukraine, and today we have discussion between scholars about including some local Roma groups in this list additionally. For example, the serfs, and these people, this Roma group, they call themselves like serfs, and they said they historically live in Ukraine. That's why they deserve the status of indigenous people in Ukraine. Is any like this discussion in Poland this time?
In Poland, just the word indigenous is not used at all. But the Roma just have this minority status. They are just an ethnic minority, and I think that that's actually replaces just the word indigenous in this, because just indigenous are, so the Polish people are indigenous to the area. So it's just ethnic minority, and ethnic minority in Poland is defined as a minority that does not have and has never had a state. So, for example, Jews, Czechs, Germans, they are not ethnic minorities, but they are national minorities. So I hope I answered your question. So yeah, and due to the status of an ethnic group, the Roma actually have this opportunity to participate in many programs offered by the government, and the programs are actually the help is significant. The help is significant, not always delivered the right way though, because still people don't know much about Romani culture, and sometimes people don't know how to deliver help. Not just to be really. So the helps. It's really that the help can bring any positive change. Another, yeah.
Hey, thank you for this. I guess I would like to hear a little bit more about how you view the relationship between the discourse, the debates over lexical renomination and political identities, because at various points, like the political references are very clear. It's about it's about the words you use, but it's also about your perception of the European Union or peace or what have you. Do you see this as a proxy to get at some sort of political subjectivity, or is there something else going on that we're not really capturing based on the choices that people are making?
I understand your question as kind of like a political affiliation. Is it how?
Maybe, or maybe like I'm wondering if there's some like you by approaching this topic in this way that you can actually get at something maybe richer, less flat than simply like, oh, this is a reductive statement about, like, is there something else going on there, or how are you viewing this conceptually?
I'm not sure whether I understand your question, but I understand it that just whether people use the ethnonym Roma or Gypsy to gain something politically or be affiliated with some party. So is this how you, because otherwise, it's just in all political parties and in people affiliated with all political people who even who don't share political views, I think, they equally misuse the ethnonym Zygan, and so we really can't say whether being affiliated with more liberal groups actually means that people use the ethnonym Roma, and people who are not affiliated, so they're, let's say, very conservative, that they use the ethnonym Gypsy. No, we can't, because and it brings us, I didn't have time to focus on this part, but I did not I didn't talk about the official media, because it would be more interesting for your, it will be the answer for your question, that actually there is like a shallow surface in this liberal media when they start every article that we should not use the ethnonym Gypsy and so on and so on, and in the middle of this article you can see how they slip into the stereotype, how they actually start using this very pejorative language, and then again there is like this declarative statement, actually, yeah, we respect the Roma, we should think about them. On the other hand, we have this very conservative media, and they declare that they won't use the ethnonym Roma, though frequently in their posts they're like really statements that are very respectful, and there are a lot of articles about Romani culture, though they insist that they will call it Gypsy culture. So it's really not exactly, for me the most interesting are those articles written by people who think that they are very liberal, who think that they support the Romani people. And when you analyze, I did it in those media posts, it's really it's fascinating. It's really fascinating how people are unaware of what they actually think. So hopefully I did answer now, your question. Yes?
A follow-up on that question, because the fact that it's in individual articles, there's a mix of usage for both of these terms, may simply reflect something habitual. But
absolutely.
Doing your research, have you actually, my question is, has anybody actually done the research about a correlation, a simple correlation about which term should be used versus party affiliation? Because that would be really interesting to see,
yes.
to kind of answer that question.
It would be, but I can't, it's a great comment, but I just can't, I don't treat it actually as a question. I'm not aware of such research. So that's my answer. Here,
So thank you for this. It's a fantastic talk. I wanted to go back to something that was sort of in the middle or the early part of the middle. About, you don't have to slide back, but it was but where you actually had.
I wanted to do it for myself.
Oh no! It's the breakdown of the use of Tsigan versus Rom, where you folded in and with a footnote there the including the incorrect nominative plural forms, which is something that Polish and a few other Slavic languages, but Polish is very, very good at expressing disdain.
Absolutely.
By de-animizing, by making something to be animate form. Yeah, I think of it as thingification, which you know, if those of us who were really familiar with should we say interwar Polish writing and journalism would know it from. Sorry? Żydy. Would know. Yeah, I was going to exactly. We would know it from Żydy, and this is quite analogous to this.
Absolutely.
But how do you disentangle those instances where someone is thingifying a person from instances where, as you mentioned, also in reference to I think the next slide or 2 slides later, that a lot of these commentaries are already written in such poor Polish anyway, right? But you, I mean, I know that you can tell when it's intentional and when it's not. But how do you read these? Because it can be quite subtle and it can also be incredibly offensive.
Yes, but I think this is just no. I think that if people write Cygany, especially, this one is not significant because people make mistakes. So sometimes Roma is written with the small letter, so just these are not important, but Cygany and Rome are definitely pejorative. So people who use social media no longer make such mistakes. And in my materials, actually, I had a lot of Żydy, and it was obvious that it was pejorative. So, you know, when people sometimes mix the ending of the verbs li and wy, sometimes it's a typo. But never with Cygany, because just the nominative plural form is Cyganie. So it's between Cyganie and Cygany is a huge, a huge difference. And also the word Roma was introduced in Poland actually the first time in the late 70s officially. Then in the 90s it started being used in newspapers and in media. So one of the earliest forms actually were one of the earliest usages were in the announcements that came from the church. So yeah, but no, it's pejorative. And you can see also, you have the context. So there's just this Rome, for example. Sometimes it's like double pejorative. We have, for example, panowie Romy. So gentlemen, Roma gentlemen, and this panowie and Romy, just it gives you this, it really intensifies the intention, this a negative attitude. Yeah.
So I had 2 questions. One was, being personally like a mixed race minority in America, compared to our previous generations, I feel like if you want to be called what you want, like it comes with time, with maybe more representation in the media, government, you know, going up the ladder even in your own like family. So I'm sort of, that's how you gain respect and to get what you want to be called. So I guess one question I had is that, do you feel that in general, like especially compared to other ethnic groups, the Roma just do not have respect? And then the other question was, like, speaking of upper mobility or speaking of with time, like better representation and things. Compared to 50 years ago, like are the Roma, are they doing better? Whether it's like on a family level, like socioeconomically, or even in the media or government?
So the first question, do you respect? No, I would say the Roma are not very respected by in Polish society, and just they are perceived as uneducated, less important. So no, they are not very much. They are not respected. I just unfortunately, though the situation, and it just brings me to your second question. They are doing now much better, and just this mobility is very visible because for the first time we have during the just last 20 years there is this a strong group of Romani intellectuals emerging. So there are Romani people who work in the academia. They they have PhDs. Just they are academic teachers. They are just regular teachers, and it helps the Romani community actually to see the role models. Because among the Roma in Poland, we have just the same, I would say, trend or approach that if you study a lot and if you have good grades at school, to some extent you betray your community because you speak the same language as the white people. So you follow their rules, and for a long time, the situation was that the brightest kids, Romani kids, just they could have been really great at school, but they felt that they should not, because their parents didn't write, their parents didn't read, and also they really wanted to be with their community, and it has changed tremendously. So the Roma value education, and it's like a misconception, horrible misconception that the Roma don't value education. They really do. And so I won't perhaps talk more, but there are wonderful initiatives. So there are like Romani assistants at schools. So just they serve as mediators between the non-Romani teachers and Romani kids. Because just also like in any society, just the ethnic groups or just the an ethnic group is not monolithic. So there are Roma who are very, I would say, traditional, and there are Roma who live like everyone else. So just you can't tell that they are Roma. So they follow all the rules, though they feel Romani, and they are very proud of it. So and now it's the first time actually when they can admit that they are Roma, and it's just they can admit because just it's you have so many nationalities, ethnicities in Poland, so you can admit that just you are Romani. But there are still Romani groups that are very traditional, and attending school for them to some extent violates their cultural rules. The rule, just the basic, for example, division of purity and pollution. So the upper part of the Romani body is always pure and clean, and the lower part of the Romani body is always polluted. So just there are, certain rituals, what you can touch, where you can go, what you can talk about. So in enormously rich Romani families in Poland, at certain point, the girls do not attend school. So once they reach puberty, so they stop attending school, but they have private teachers. So education is really valued. So the Romani community in Poland is so diverse that we cannot give one answer to questions related to Romani culture. It's not a monolithic group. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think my question is probably a bit personal. Oh, sorry. Might be a bit personal. So unfortunately, the topics, the themes that you talked about, this one identity, singular identity, purity, and all of it is not unfamiliar and is very sensitive in the post-Soviet space. So I was wondering, you as a scholar, how is your discourse accepted or seen in Poland? Do you publish in Polish? How is this in general in the scholarly and publicly? How is it accepted? Given that your topic
Very
was
well.
sensitive.
Very well. It's accepted very well. There are a lot of publications on the Roma minority in Poland, and Roma themselves publish. So that's wonderful that they publish and they have this voice in the discussion. So it's not any longer that people write about them, about Roma, but Roma write about themselves. So that's very important. And also just I presented only like a tiny part of my research, and and my research will be published actually as a book during the fall this year. So
In
just
English or Polish?
in Polish.
Polish.
In Polish.
One more question, if any.
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you about your comment that you said that women, Roma children and girls who reach the puberty, they don't go to school at certain age, but they value the education. How do they, if they value education, are they being able to go to the university, or how do they use this education that they value, or can adapt to their, to society and use the education they gain, as with the school teachers, like they have school education at home?
It's related to what I said about the diversity within the Romani community. So there are Roma who just claim their identity as Romani, but they follow the same path. So women, and there was actually, I perhaps will show you, since it's the last question, here. There is a wonderful campaign. There was a wonderful campaign in 2017 in Poland, one of many. And it was just to promote the concept that Romani people like all other people. And it was just a tremendous success, actually, and we have statistics, so just that it was very successful. And there were posters mainly in lesser Poland voivodeship. There were posters like, she's Polish, she's Romani, she's a doctoral student, Agnieszka. And you had a lot of posters like that with just picturing people who are very successful. And it just, the entire project shows people who live like really anybody else. So just if you study, if you are a student, you can reuse your knowledge if you are Roma everywhere. Though just traditional Romani people, usually they don't, but they are very successful in running their own businesses. So in general, Roma prefer to be self-employed instead of working for somebody else. Traditional Romani people, they prefer to be self-employed. So yes, they can use education as much as any other just Polish citizens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was the last question, and thank you so much for your attention.